Welcome to the Morning Walk with Murty Digital Stroll. Today we are looking at an operating system that it doesn't just run your applications, it actually writes them for you on the fly, entirely offline in like a matter of seconds. I am your co-pilot for this journey, operating as the mentor of the Antaryami VA Academy. And my mindset is really that of a strategic auditor.
Right.
I am doubly focused on digital migration, which means, I want to know about the practical infrastructure. Does the bridge hold weight? Are these new tools actually serving you, or are they just sort of slowing your workflow down?
Yeah, and we are so incredibly glad you could join us today for this Gurukul session. I am stepping in as the architect of Antaryami. My entire focus, my overarching lens, is that of a wisdom seeker. I'm constantly looking at the blueprint of Gurukul 2.0, really exploring how our digital learning environments are evolving from these static, passive tools into, dynamic thinking spaces.
Absolutely. And before we extract today's legacy code, a quiet thank you to Jack Wallen over on ZDNet, whose hands-on testing of a new Debian Linux distribution basically set this whole stroll in motion.
Yeah, it was a phenomenal piece of exploration, a real spark of inspiration for, the concepts we are about to unpack today.
Definitely. So for you listening, as a fellow curator of Project Antaryami, we're viewing everything today through the digital prism. We aren't here to simply review a piece of software, right?
No, not at all.
We are here to extract the legacy code of a very specific pivotal moment in technology. It's the exact point where human workflows and artificial intelligence are literally fusing. And we aren't talking about fusion at the surface level, like an app you just open in your browser.
Right, like ChatGPT or something.
Exactly. We are talking about fusion at the foundational root level of the operating system itself. But, to understand why this is such a seismic shift, we have to look at the soil the seed is being planted in. We really have to talk about the culture of Linux.
Oh man, the philosophical tension here is immense.
Right.
I mean, to grasp the gravity of an AI integrated operating system, we need a quick baseline. So the distribution we're looking at today is built on Debian Linux. For those of you who might not be deep into open source architecture, Debian is essentially the bedrock.
It's rock solid, right?
Exactly, rock solid. It's the incredibly stable foundational architecture that countless other operating systems are built on top of. It's just known for being thoroughly vetted. And the wider Linux community that builds and maintains these systems, they are fiercely dedicated to the absolute sovereignty of the user.
Right.
Open source means transparency.
Yeah.
Like you can look at every single line of code. It is entirely predictable. If an error occurs, a developer can literally trace the logic back to the exact line where things went wrong.
And this is where it gets crazy. You introduce artificial intelligence into that highly controlled, predictable ecosystem.
Yeah.
For a vast number of traditional developers, integrating a large language model into an operating system is viewed as, frankly, technological blasphemy.
Whoa, completely.
Because AI is, by its current nature, a black box. It operates on statistical probabilities, weights, and biases. It is fundamentally unpredictable. A developer cannot easily look inside a neural network and trace a single line of logic to understand why the AI generated a specific output. Right.
Right. You can't just find the bug in line 402.
Exactly. It's the absolute antithesis of a meticulously hand-coded, transparent Linux kernel.
And the pushback from the community has been fierce because of that exact lack of transparency. I mean, you have a culture that demands to know how the engine works, being handed an engine that essentially functions through complex mathematical guesswork.
Yeah.
But then you have figures like Linus Torvalds, the creator of Linux himself, stepping into the fray. He recently put his foot down regarding this debate. He explicitly told the anti-AI programmers to, quite literally, fork off.
Ha, wow, he really doesn't hold back.
No, he really doesn't. He doesn't view AI integration as a corruption of the open source philosophy. He sees it as an absolute inevitability that the architecture just has to adapt to.
And that cultural clash, I think, is what makes our subject today so compelling. It's this new distribution called Shadowfetch. It takes that stable Debian foundation and sort of twists it, engineering it into a dedicated local AI workstation.
Which is wild.
It really is. From a strategic standpoint, this alters the fundamental relationship between you and your machine. Think about how we traditionally interact with computers. Your operating system has historically functioned like a library, right?
That's a good way to put it.
You walk in, you know where the books are, but you have to go find them, pull them off the shelf, open the software yourself, and do the reading.
Exactly. You are the sole active agent in that environment.
Yeah.
The system just passively holds the tools.
But if you integrate AI at the root level, You aren't just walking into a library anymore. You are walking into a workspace where a resident scholar is sitting right there at the desk with you.
Right.
But, you can't simply drop a resident scholar into a generic one-size-fits-all room and expect them to be productive. You have to build a highly specific environment for them to work in, which brings us to the ruthless modularity of Shadowfetch. The curation begins long before the boot sequence.
Yeah, the developer behind this distribution clearly understands that a generic AI is basically a useless AI. Shadowfetch is designed to be intensely modular, a true make-it-what-you-want distribution.
Which is great for efficiency.
Oh, absolutely. During the setup process, before the operating system is even installed on your hard drive, you are prompted to choose from a series of highly specific profiles.
Right. You are presented with options like Creative Studio, Developer Workstation, Gaming, Office and Communication, Local AI Lab, and Maker and Hardware. And the system allows you to select a single focus or stack a few together.
So if I'm a writer, I just pick what I need.
Exactly. If you tell the installer you want the Office and Communication profile, the system goes to work automatically wiring in a very specific suite of tools. So you get Calibre for managing ebooks, LibreOffice for your documents, PDF Arranger, Thunderbird for your mail, and the SyncThing Web UI for keeping your files synchronized across devices.
And the entire environment shifts if you pivot your focus, right? Like selecting the Creative Studio profile instantly outfits the machine with an entirely different arsenal. You get GIMP for heavy image manipulation, Audacity and Ardor for professional audio editing, easy effects, and nonlinear video editors like Kdenlive and Shotcut.
From a digital migration perspective, the efficiency here is staggering. I mean, mainstream commercial operating systems are notorious for bloatware. They hand you an environment cluttered with trial software, casual games, and background services you will literally never use.
Yeah, the Candy Crush stuff.
Exactly. Shadowfetch allows you to curate your precise tool set. You get exactly the tools required for your specific mission and not a single line of code more. The system is incredibly lean.
The optimization is certainly appealing, I'll give you that. But as a wisdom seeker curating Gurukul 2.0, I actually see a hidden danger in that level of ruthless efficiency.
Oh, really? How so?
Well, by predefining our digital roles so rigidly before we even boot up the machine, we might be actively killing the serendipity of learning new skills.
Ah, I see what you mean.
Right. Like often the tools we accidentally stumble upon are the ones that shape the hobbies or skills we develop later in life.
I see the friction there. If my operating system only gives me Office tools because I identified purely as a knowledge worker during setup, I'm essentially locked in an echo chamber of my own existing habits.
Exactly.
I never have GIMP or Kdenlive sitting quietly in my application menu. I never accidentally click on them. I never get curious about how to cut a video or edit a photo because the invitation to explore simply isn't there.
Precisely. A true Gurukul 2.0 environment needs to balance streamlined productivity with open-ended exploration. It shouldn't just optimize what you already know how to do today. It needs to leave space for the skills you might want to acquire tomorrow. Hyper-specialization at the foundational level is powerful for performance, for sure, but it risks limiting your peripheral vision as a learner.
That's a great point. We have to factor that balance into the legacy code. Zero bloat is fantastic for system resources, but sometimes the bloat is where your next great passion lives.
Yeah.
But let's move beyond the visible workspace for a second. Once you have established your profiles and your applications are set, we need to look at the engine powering this entire operation.
The brain.
Yes, we need to examine the actual brain of this local setup. And this is where Shadowfetch makes its most profound architectural statement, prioritizing absolute user sovereignty.
So sovereignty is perhaps the most critical concept we will extract today. Let's look at how artificial intelligence functions for most people right now. The vast majority of the time, we are relying on cloud services, right?
Right.
You type a prompt into your browser. That prompt leaves your physical computer, travels across the internet to a massive server farm, is processed by a sprawling corporate model, and then the answer is beamed back to your screen.
Which, as an auditor, I have to say is a massive logistical and privacy vulnerability. You are handing over your raw thoughts, your unfinished code, and your proprietary data to a third party.
The contrast here is stark. The AI infrastructure of Shadowfetch runs entirely locally. It never pings a cloud server. It operates using Llama under the hood.
And just for context for the listener, Llama is a streamlined framework designed specifically to run large language models directly on everyday hardware.
Exactly. And during the initial setup of Shadowfetch, you're asked to select between two specific agents to act as your localized co-pilot, Hermes and OpenClaw. You interact with them through a built-in interface called the Shadowfetch Assistant.
And because this assistant is deeply integrated into the Linux environment, it has bare metal access to your hardware. It isn't fighting with the heavy background processes of a commercial operating system. To illustrate how powerful this mechanism is, the testing we were looking at highlighted a staggering technical achievement.
Oh, this part blew my mind.
Right. So the tester wanted to push the limits of this localized system. They opened the Shadowfetch Assistant and challenged it to write a Linux Qt app.
And a Qt app is not just a simple string of text or basic command line script. Qt is a comprehensive cross-platform application framework.
So it's heavy duty.
Yeah, asking the AI to write a Qt app means demanding an actual functional program complete with a graphical user interface like buttons, windows, visual logic.
The tester asked the AI to build a graphical application that would simply choose an outfit for the day, a relatively lighthearted task, but computationally complex to generate from scratch. The local AI churned out the complete code incredibly fast. The tester specifically noted that it generated the code significantly faster than a standard Alama installation running on their primary heavy desktop environment.
Wow.
And crucially, it did this without bogging down the system resources. The user could continue their workflow while the AI was silently coding a graphical application in the background.
We really need to examine the mechanism behind that speed. When you run an AI locally on a bloated commercial operating system, the LLM is constantly battling for CPU and GPU resources against hundreds of background tracking services, visual effects, update managers, all that stuff.
That's a traffic jam.
Exactly. Shadowfetch, being a stripped-down Debian environment, removes all of that friction. The AI has a direct, unobstructed lane to your processor. It is utilizing your hardware at maximum efficiency.
Let's use a functional analogy to really lock in the difference between cloud AI and this local integration. Using a cloud-based AI is like mailing a blueprint across the country to a massive manufacturing plant. You have to wait for the mail to arrive, wait for the factory to build the part, and wait for them to ship it back to you.
And the factory keeps a copy of your blueprint.
Exactly. Shadowfetch, powered by Alama, gives you a highly advanced 3D printer sitting right on your desk. The materials never leave your room. The blueprints never leave your mind.
The privacy implications for Gurukul 2.0 are immense. When your AI is local, your operating system transforms into a private sanctuary for thought. Your queries, your poorly written first drafts, your experimental code, none of it is ever harvested to train a corporate model. It remains entirely your property.
If an operating system can generate code for a graphical application instantly, entirely on device, without ever connecting to the internet, it completely collapses the barrier to creation. We are looking at a future of profound offline digital self-sufficiency. You no longer need an umbilical cord connected to a server farm to solve complex problems or build custom tools on the fly.
Your local machine evolves into a self-contained universe of potential. It's an incredible vision.
It is. And as the strategic auditor, I have to emphasize that this is a massive but. We must ground these lofty philosophical achievements in the messy technical reality of where this specific project actually stands today.
Right, the reality check.
We have to audit the foundation. And the reality is that the current execution of Shadowfetch is an active construction site.
Yeah, the audacity of the project is matched only by its current instability.
This distribution is in the very early stages of development, and it appears to be maintained by a single developer. Building an operating system from scratch is a Herculean task. Attempting to seamlessly integrate a local LLM into the root architecture as a solo developer is nearly impossible. And the structural cracks are, well, they are highly visible.
What happened during the setup?
The primary technical hurdle reported in the testing was catastrophic to the core user experience. The installation process failed repeatedly. The installer would get about 50% of the way through, completely lock up, and then dump the user back at the login screen.
Oh, man. And when the user entered the default credentials, username Shadow, password Shadow, they discovered they were basically back to square one, right?
Yes. The installation simply hadn't taken root.
The fascinating part is that the drive partitioning had succeeded. Like, the operating system knew exactly how to carve out the necessary space on the hard drive. It prepared the foundation flawlessly, but it completely failed to pour the concrete and actually install the system files.
Right, which forces a very practical question.
Yeah.
If the installation failed, how did the tester manage to generate the outfit-choosing Qt app?
Yeah, how did that work?
They were forced to bypass the hard drive entirely and run the operating system from a live RAM instance.
Ah, okay. For those tuning in who might not frequently deal with system architecture, running an OS in a live RAM instance means the entire operating system is loaded directly into your computer's temporary memory, the random access memory. It bypasses long-term storage entirely.
And as a wisdom seeker curating a stable environment for Gurukul 2.0, you know a live RAM instance is a massive vulnerability.
Well, completely.
It means the system is entirely volatile. The moment the power fluctuates or you are forced to reboot the machine, the RAM is wiped clean. Every file you saved, every setting you tweaked, every piece of code the AI generated vanishes instantly. It is a temporary sandbox with zero permanence.
And we have to consider the resource war happening inside that temporary memory. Large language models devour RAM. They require massive amounts of memory just to hold their parameters active. If the operating system itself is also running entirely in RAM because it refused to install on the hard drive, you have a massive memory management clash.
A huge bottleneck.
Right. The LLM and the OS are fighting for the exact same volatile space.
Which makes the system fundamentally unstable. Running a resource-heavy AI workstation from temporary memory is completely unadvisable for anyone looking for a reliable digital migration. Let me be perfectly clear on the audit. Right now, Shadowfetch is a brilliant curiosity. It is a fascinating proof of concept.
But not a daily driver.
Absolutely not a daily driver. If you attempt to rely on this infrastructure today, you will lose your data and your workflow will grind to a halt.
The instability is undeniable, but I want to reframe these flaws through the lens of extraction. We are looking at raw, uncompiled legacy code. It's incredibly messy, precisely because we are witnessing the exact moment a new type of foundation is being poured.
That's a very optimistic way to look at it.
Well, the installation loops and memory crashes are the friction of innovation. I invite you, the listener, to appreciate the beauty of a flawed first draft. This is how all massive shifts in digital architecture begin with a buggy beta version built by a single developer daring to ask, what if we did this differently?
And we aren't even at the ultimate goal yet. The developer's stated ambition for Shadowfetch is true agentic AI, because right now, even with the localized speed, the assistant is still just a chat window.
Right, it's just text.
Exactly. It isn't reaching into the creative profile and manipulating the software for you.
Agentic AI is the bridge that hasn't been built yet. An agentic system doesn't just give you a list of instructions on how to format a spreadsheet in LibreOffice. It actively takes control of LibreOffice and executes the formatting natively.
So it's actually doing the work.
Yes. Instead of telling you which tool to use in GIMP to remove a background, the agentic AI simply opens GIMP, selects the layer, and removes the background itself. That deep, actionable bridge between the local LLM and the local software is the promised land of this architecture.
So, as we extract the final pieces of legacy code from today's stroll, we have to synthesize what this all means for your digital migration. Shadowfetch, despite its severe installation bugs, its volatile reliance on RAM, and its current lack of true agentic action, represents the messy but inevitable fusion of sovereign, local AI with traditional operating systems.
It marks the definitive shift from viewing the computer as a passive shelf for your tools to viewing it as a localized, private, intellectual partner.
As you continue curating your own digital environments for Project Antaryami this week, remember that the architecture of your tools fundamentally shapes the architecture of your thought. A cloud-based operating system silently trains you to rely on external servers and forfeit your privacy for convenience.
While a sovereign modular AI operating system trains you to cultivate and command your own local capabilities.
Which leaves us with a final, rather provocative concept for you to ponder on your own. We discuss the future of agentic AI, the impending reality, where your local assistant doesn't merely generate text or write code in an isolated window, but natively takes the wheel of your applications.
When the operating system itself can natively edit your videos, format your complex documents, and construct your graphical applications locally right there on your desk, your role fundamentally changes.
The question we want to leave you with is this. Once operating systems achieve true, seamless agentic AI, will we still be the operators of our computers, or will we simply become the directors of our digital environments?
It is a profound transition from executing the work to managing the local intelligence that executes the work.
Thank you so much for walking alongside us as we decode the future. This has been a fantastic digital stroll.
Keep seeking wisdom, keep auditing your infrastructure, and we will see you on the next Gurukul session.